Give me another one.
There's not one person of colour in the royal family.
Give me another one.
Not one person.
Give me another example.
They had one woman of colour. You don't get the answer. They had one woman of colour in the royal family, and guess what they did? Boom! Pushed her under the bus. You can get lost. Sling your hook. We don't want someone of colour here. And they wanted just a white royal family. Why? They had a black person in the royal family.
What goes on in your mind?
That goes on in my mind, because that's the truth of it.
What goes on
they
in your
had
mind?
a person of colour in the royal family, and they decided to push her aside. And guess what? Talking to the protection, why shouldn't he get protection?
So let me ask you this then.
He's the son of the king.
But tonight's heat came straight from Talk TV. The moment Narinder Kaur opened her mouth, the entire studio shifted. She didn't just speak. She delivered a truth bomb that echoed across Britain. There is not one person of colour in the royal family. They had one woman of colour and they pushed her under the bus. And let's be honest, she's absolutely right. Because when Meghan Markle walked into that centuries-old palace, she didn't just bring her grace, intelligence, and humanitarian spirit. She brought representation to a family that had been trapped in a time capsule for centuries. She was the first modern royal to reflect a diverse global Britain, but instead of celebrating her, the institution and their media allies turned her into a target. Now, if anyone doubts what Narinder Kaur said, let's rewind the royal record for a second. The moment Meghan joined the family, the tone of coverage shifted. Kate Middleton was glowing for touching her belly. Meghan was vain. Kate was protective of her privacy. Meghan was secretive. Meghan wore off-the-shoulder dresses, and the headlines screamed breaking royal protocol. Yet when Kate wore similar styles, she was radiant. The double standard wasn't just glaring, it was weaponized. You know, Narinder's point really hits home when you realise the family had this golden opportunity to evolve. Meghan's presence was like a bridge to the Commonwealth, to younger generations, to people of colour who had never once seen themselves reflected in royal life. But instead of walking across that bridge, the palace, well, they set it on fire. They didn't just fail to protect her, they fed her to the wolves. We all remember those nights, don't we? When Meghan was pregnant and the press ran those vile, racially charged headlines. Exotic DNA, straight out of Compton, just disgusting stuff that no pregnant woman should ever have to endure. And where was the firm's famous never complain, never explain motto then? Nowhere to be found. Because let's be clear, silence in the face of racism isn't neutrality, it's complicity. Harry saw it, you know. That's why he acted. The man literally grew up watching what the press did to his mother, and when history started repeating itself with his wife, he said enough. Harry's love story with Meghan isn't just romance, it's rebellion against a cruel cycle. He didn't abandon his family, he protected his own. And let's face it, that's what any decent husband and father would do. The royal machine wanted Meghan to smile, wave, and stay silent. But Meghan's not built to be ornamental. She's built to be impactful. She's a woman who advocated for women's rights before she even met Harry. A woman who, as a duchess, used her platform to highlight causes like racial justice, women's empowerment, and mental health. She didn't chase fame. Fame chased her because she had something real to say. So when Narinder said, they pushed her under the bus, she was describing what the monarchy did to preserve its outdated image. Instead of welcoming change, they chose comfort. Instead of embracing inclusion, they reinforced exclusion. Meghan's mere existence challenged their centuries-old norms, and for that, they decided she had to go. But the irony? The more they tried to silence Meghan, the louder her truth became. The Oprah interview pulled back the curtain and revealed what so many suspected, a system terrified of a mixed-race woman having a voice. Harry confirmed it himself. There were concerns about Archie's skin tone before he was even born. Let that sink in. a child not yet in the world, already being judged by the colour of his skin. And some people still ask why Meghan left. Please. Meanwhile, the palace PR machine worked overtime trying to paint Harry and Meghan as villains. They're money-hungry, they're attention-seekers, they're traitors. But you know what they really are? Survivors. They chose peace over protocol, love over fear, authenticity over performance. And Narinder Kaur saw through the noise. She wasn't afraid to call out the hypocrisy on live television, a move that most pundits would never dare. Because she understood what so many refused to admit. The monarchy failed to protect the only woman of colour in its ranks. Instead of shielding her, they isolated her. Instead of standing by her, they stood back as the tabloids destroyed her reputation. And let's not forget, Harry and Meghan's story didn't end in tears. It evolved. Today, in Montecito, they're thriving. They're raising 2 beautiful children in a home filled with laughter, sunshine, and freedom. Meghan's brand, American Riviera Orchard, celebrates community and joy, not status and hierarchy. Harry continues to support veterans, mental health awareness, and environmental initiatives through Archewell. They've built an empire based on values, not titles. Compare that to the stiff, outdated image of duty that's still being peddled in London. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One side clings to tradition, the other embraces transformation. And that's why Meghan continues to scare them. Because she represents what the monarchy could have been: modern, inclusive, and humane. Narinder's statement didn't just expose the lack of diversity, it exposed a moral vacuum. For a family that claims to represent all of Britain, how is it that their only woman of colour was treated as expendable? How can they talk about unity while one of their own was driven to the point of saying she didn't want to be alive anymore? Those aren't just words, they're a cry for help that the institution ignored. Harry didn't go rogue, he went human. He chose empathy over etiquette, and that's something the monarchy has never known how to handle. Narinder Kaur spoke with passion, and she was right to do so. Because sometimes it takes someone from outside the palace walls to say what everyone inside is too afraid to admit. And while Meghan and Harry continue to live with grace and gratitude, their haters are still stuck recycling old narratives. That's what happens when you trade your humanity for headlines. So tonight, as we replay Narinder's words, let's remember the bigger picture. This isn't just about one TV debate. It's about a culture of exclusion that has gone unchecked for generations. It's about a woman who was brave enough to enter that world and redefine what royalty could look like. It's about a man who refused to lose another loved one to that same cold machinery.